Hello and welcome once again to Vicman16 channel. For today we're going to be talking on Neco practical chemistry for the 2022 exams. Be sure that 90% of these questions are going to appear on the day of your exams. Full practical analysis with simple steps to take. Be sure and don't forget to share, leave a comment on maybe ideas or some tips, subscribe and like. Let's go. Now, from my previous comments, subscribers have been urging me or trying to advise me to talk on some titration tips and all. Well, the best advice I can give you is to focus on your titer values. For titration, basically titrating acid against base. When you have your methyl orange, you now have to get the right color and everything. You know, you have three, can be 2, depending on the question that you're given. So make sure that your titer values aren't too far apart from each other. Also remember your formulas, your CAVA over CBVB is equals to N, the number of moles and everything. That's basically it for titration. So let's begin with the first salt analysis. Okay, let's go. I won't waste too much of your time. For this Neco chemistry practical, we are going to be analyzing two salts, which are aluminium chloride and zinc carbonate. Now, we're going to distinguish the both of them. We're going to, for aluminium chloride, we'll label it as Y, and for zinc carbonate, we're going to label it as X. On the day of your exam, they may say Y is zinc carbonate or X is aluminium chloride. You won't be able to know. It's a test that will be able to distinguish between both of them. But for this practical specifically, in this analysis, Y is going to be aluminium chloride and X is going to be zinc carbonate. So let's go. Now for your first test, we have Y, which is your aluminium chloride, plus 10 cm cube of distilled water. Then you stir, plus your litmus. For your observation, Y dissolves to give a colorless, you can say colorless or clear solution. The solution turned blue, litmus red. Now we need to take note that aluminium chloride is a Lewis acid, and when you hear acid, you know that it will turn blue, litmus red. So that's your observation. Then for your inference, Y is soluble in water, and of course the solution of Y is acidic because it turned blue, litmus red. So that's it for our first test. Now for our second test, we divided the first test, they are both tests, into 4 portions. In the question you might say 2 portions or 3 portions, but for this one we are going to be dividing into 4 portions. So for the second test, the first portion of solution Y plus X, which is your zinc carbonate, or you could say, or they might say dilute HCl plus solid sample of X. Either way, that is the second test. First portion of solution Y plus X. Now for your observation, effervescence occurred. A colorless, odorless gas was liberated. Now this gas turned lime water milky. That's for your observation. Then for your inference, CO2 gas, as in carbon dioxide, from CO32 minus was formed. Now, this observation and inference, the dilute HCl plus your solid sample of X will also give you the same observation and the same inference. That's why in the beginning I said either the first portion of solution Y plus X or dilute HCl plus solid sample of X, meaning that both of these two tests combined would give you the same observation and the same inference. As earlier explained, you already know that any gas that turns lime water milky, the gas is going to be CO2. That's like the basic chemical law. Okay, now for our third test, we have the second portion of solution Y plus sodium aqueous sodium hydroxide in drops, then in excess. So now for your observation, we have white gelatinous precipitate formed in drops, then in excess the precipitate dissolved. So now your inference is aluminium, zinc or lead present. You could say aluminium or zinc present, but for accurate results, aluminium, zinc or Pb2 plus, which is lead, present. Let's move on. Now for our next test, we have the third portion of solution Y plus ammonia in drops, then in excess. Okay, for observation, white gelatinous precipitate is formed in drops which remained insoluble in excess of ammonia, meaning that it wasn't able to dissolve. For your inference, we have aluminium or lead present. The reason why zinc is not here is considering the fact that zinc would be dissolved. So if it was like white precipitate dissolved, that means that zinc will be present, but since it didn't dissolve, we can't add zinc there, and so your inference is aluminium plus lead present. Okay, for our next test, the fourth portion of solution Y plus dilute HCl. Then for observation, there is no visible reaction, and because of that, your inference would be Al3 plus confirmed. Now if you added this dilute HCl and a white precipitate was formed, it would be lead, but since there was no visible reaction, it's going to be aluminium. So now your aluminium is confirmed. Okay, for this next test, now we're done with all the portions of solution Y. So for this next test is X plus dilute HCl. Your observation will be effervescent occurred, a colorless, odorless gas liberated, and now that gas turned lime water milky. And as earlier explained, when a gas turns lime water milky, your inference will be CO2 gas from CO3 2 minus. Now this next test I'm about to give you is basically the combined form of the salts. When you combine them together, it's going to give you different, still the same components, but then a different formula. And now we are basically trying to find out the CO2, the zinc, lead and everything all over again. This is not a likely question that is able to come out, because it's like the results, to get the results is very difficult, but then we are here to supply you the best. So the equation is above. It will give you zinc chloride plus aluminium oxide plus CO2 gas. Your zinc chloride will be your filtrate and your aluminium oxide will be your residue, and of course your CO2 is your gas. So now let's go on with the tests of the combined salts. Now for your first test of your combined salt form, still remember that Y is your aluminium chloride and your X is your zinc carbonate. So now for your first test, solution of Y plus X, stir then filter. Your observation will be effervescence occurred, a colorless, odorless gas evolved which turned lime water milky. Now there is a colorless filtrate and a white residue obtained. You need to mention that when you combine everything, a colorless filtrate and white residue was obtained. Now for your inference, CO2 gas from CO3 to minus. The mix, for your inference, you need to add that it's a mixture of a soluble and insoluble salts. When you combine them together, it's like partially dissolved. You understand? So it won't really dissolve. So it's a mixture of a soluble and insoluble salts combined. Let's go. Now for our next test, the first portion of the filtrate, your colorless filtrate. Don't forget that the filtrate we're talking about is zinc chloride. Don't forget to put that in mind. Now the first portion of your filtrate plus sodium hydroxide in drops, then in excess. For your observation, we have white gelatinous precipitate formed, which dissolves in excess of sodium hydroxide to form a clear solution. Remember how we talked about clear solution in our first test in the beginning? So our inference would be aluminium, zinc, or lead present. Aluminium, zinc, or lead present for accurate results. Now for our next test, we have the second portion of the filtrate plus ammonia, aqueous ammonia in drops, then in excess. For your observation, white gelatinous precipitates in drops, but then in excess of ammonia, aqueous ammonia, the precipitate dissolves to form a clear solution. You can see how the above and the latter are actually the same. It will dissolve, and we talked about how when zinc dissolves, if it's dissolved, that means that zinc is confirmed. So for inference, zinc is confirmed. Now last but not the least on our list of tests, the residue plus dilute HCl. Now for your observation, the residue dissolved. Then for your inference, residue is soluble in dilute HCl. Don't forget that your residue is aluminium oxide, and aluminium oxide is soluble in dilute HCl. And that's all for the Neco chemistry practical analysis for 2022. Don't forget to share, comment, like, subscribe to this channel. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching. We'll see you all next time on Vicman 16 channel. Good day.